Welcome back to the Lift for Life podcast. I'm here with G-Dog. G-Dog, how are you today?
Good, Angus. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I think you know what I'm about to talk about, don't you? So, we've obviously had big conversations about G-Dog's warm energy. And this is something where I'm
very warm now. I got much warmer than I ever used to be.
A very warm individual.
Much warmer.
And obviously after Nobu Ibiza,
yes,
few years ago now, I think it was.
3 years ago.
Where I gave you a real telling off for your lack of warmth, which completely...
With the receptionist.
...kick-started the warm dog.
Warm G.
Which you really enjoy now and you love warm energy and all that. But we have this established that warm energy goes when G-Dog says goodbye.
I hate goodbyes. I can't do it. I can't say goodbye.
So we had a scenario recently where we were saying goodbye to a couple of people and I was like, big hug, yeah, great to see you. And G-Dog goes for the, yeah, good to see you, handshake.
And then we're walking away, and Angus is like, "What the hell? What were you doing there?" And I said, I can't stand saying goodbye to people. I just can't deal with it."
What?
And he said, "Just grab them and hug them." So anyway, all my clients who are listening to this, watch out. I'm going to be grabbing and hugging you all as I say goodbye to you in the future. No more handshakes from the dog.
But you might have just had the most amazing time with G-Dog, and you're there, and you're just like, "Yeah, so good to see you, brother." And he'll be like, "Okay, bye." It's so odd. I want you to just take that warmth to the bye because you don't want people's last memory of you to be negative, do you?
It's true.
So we've got to try and coach you up.
It's some deep inner insecurity. I think we've got to go back to that interview you did with me to try and work it out.
Well, you don't like
what happened at school.
You don't like when people leave.
Yes.
So when your friend moved away.
Yes.
It's almost hurt so much that...
I have difficulty with it.
And you're worried that it's like the last time you'll see that person.
Yeah.
Even if it's someone who's...
But if that's true, then why aren't I really getting emotional and hugging them?
That's what I don't understand. Surely you want the lasting memory to be love and warmth. So you need to fight your mentality there.
Yeah. But I do remember even going back to my childhood with aunts and uncles and cousins when we go on holiday, I used to cry saying goodbye to people. And be in the car afterwards, just crying that the holiday was over. And
were you always crying when you left holiday? So was I.
I literally is I don't.
But I take the tone up. That's what I always teach myself. So had a great time. So good to see you, brother. I take it up a notch. So then they leave. You always want them leaving smiling, whereas you always leave not smiling.
Maybe I feel that if I get overly emotional saying goodbye with the hugs and all that sort of stuff, then I'll start crying. Therefore, I try and fight that by actually not getting emotional on departure.
Yeah. So you've got to find a happy medium.
Yeah. Or maybe just start crying again.
Can you imagine every time?
Every time I leave the office, every evening, I just cry as I'm leaving my colleagues.
I mean, then people will say that G-Dog is a wetter. Anyway, should we crack on with the podcast?
Go.
Now, this is a fun episode. And actually, as we are going into February, and a lot of you are now ditching dry January, it's probably the perfect timing for the episode. But it's actually, A, it's a fun episode, but B, this could actually be really useful for people because we're going to talk from personal experience, and also I'm sure G-Dog has got plenty of facts to bore you with, so we'll throw them in there as well. But today we're talking about how to cure your hangover. Now, G-Dog, I'll let you kick us off. How do you cure your hangover?
Well, first of all, I want to, because some people may not know what a hangover is. I mean, clearly that's a ridiculous statement, but that's
one of the moments where you actually can say everyone gets hangovers.
Yeah,
and not.
Apart from people who have dry Januaries.
Yes, I know.
Right, or they're having a lot of hangovers in February. It's because their alcohol ability to absorb it has decreased dramatically during dry January, so therefore they're going to get a hangover very quickly in February. So what actually causes a hangover? So obviously everybody knows it's dehydration. Alcohol has a diuretic effect. But also, and these are important notes to think about in terms of how to cure it or to assuage the impact of it the following day. It's a loss of electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium. Sleep disruption, as we know. You may feel you're sleeping off the alcohol, but you've had a very significant reduction in your REM, rapid eye movement sleep. And as you are doing your REM sleep, then your brain is obviously, I'd say, uploading data into the cloud. And it's very important in terms of the way your memory operates and the way your brain functions. So you've got less of that. It's caused by inflammation and oxidative stress. It's caused by a reduction in blood sugar. And it's also the cause of gastrointestinal irritation. So in trying to cure the hangover, you need to think about how can you do stuff in order to ease all of those symptoms and issues with your body. So personal experience first. Angus, how do you not only deal with a hangover when you have it, but also prepare ahead of a big night out?
Electrolytes is a big one. So actually having some electrolytes before you drink, I find makes a big difference.
What is electrolytes?
So electrolytes, I mean, in short, is your salts and things like that. And you've probably got a deep dog definition of electrolytes. So do you quickly share that with the
It's a whole
listeners?
series of different chemicals. So it's potassium, sodium, as you said, salt, magnesium, a whole series of base chemicals that form electrolytes. And one thing I've had recently is this David Beckham IM8 product, which is stuffed with electrolytes. So
we could test that on our Live for Life annual trip.
We could do, yeah.
And see if it makes a difference. So
Yeah.
we could throw that in the mixer as well. So obviously being hydrated. Another hack I would use is I drink a lot of water when I drink. And that's just instinctive. I much prefer sparkling water as well. So that's absolutely fine to do. I also, the margarita hack as well, you could argue is something that works quite well. So as you're drinking your margarita, you've got salt on the rim. So you can have salt as you go around whilst you're drinking the margarita and then drink water alongside it. So you're arguably hydrating yourself slightly. Good techers.
So a margarita is a good hangover cure.
You could argue that it's slightly better, and also tequila, purest form of alcohol. I definitely find quality of alcohol and choice of alcohol does make a big, big difference.
Yeah, you have a big issue with obviously the terroir of the wine, so it needs to be Barolo. But then also the vintage is really important, right? So if you find that I've gone and bought a Barolo sort of, post 2015, you're like, G-Dog, this is going to be really bad for the hangover.
Yeah, exactly that. So quality of alcohol. Obviously, optimal is Don Julio 1942, of course.
Just to clarify, because regular listeners will notice the change in my intonation with the description of that Italian wine. So I'd always called it Barolo, and Angus had always called it Barolo, and I'd assumed it was something to do with Angus being poorly educated relative to the dog. And so I did speak to some Italian colleagues, and they told me it's Barolo. So Angus.
So
is
technically,
right.
what? Sorry, it's Barolo.
Barolo. You're right. I'm wrong.
Oh, it is.
And I said, "Is it Barolo?" And they went, "No, it's Barolo."
I changed for you.
No,
I've been saying Barolo.
No, you were right. It's Barolo.
It's like every single.
But the problem is, I think when you say it as an English person,
Barolo,
it does sound a bit, But the nearest thing to it is Barolo with an O, as opposed to Barolo with an O. So it is more
Barolo,
more Italian to say Barolo, even though it sounds very English, than it is to say Barolo.
So this was one of those rare moments where G-Dog was right, but you actually weren't.
No. And so
Angus was right again.
But importantly, we know, I think we have, it's a small percentage, 2% of our listeners are Italian. So that 2% of listeners, feel free to go into our DMs or go onto our my Instagram, Angus Instagram, the podcast Instagram, or even any of the Spotify accounts and clarify. But my understanding from my colleagues is that Angus was right.
Again. Wow. Fantastic. Going back to also prepping for the hangover. So things like that. And I guess I'm not saying it's the best thing to do, but if you know you've had a drink the night before, a couple of paracetamol before bed does really help with the headache.
I use Nurofen, actually.
Nurofen, a bit more hardcore. It's not as good on the old gut.
No, but I did have a very long time ago a relationship with a pharmacologist. And she told me that Nurofen was, I mean, again, we'll be completely sort of slammed by some medical company for this, but she told me that Nurofen, when it was being designed, was partially designed with the idea of a hangover cure.
Really? Interesting.
But obviously, they weren't allowed to advertise it in that way. But a pharmacologist told me, I mean, it might be total rubbish, and it was disguising the reason that she was taking
Maybe
Nurofen.
she had shares in Nurofen.
Yeah, I don't know. But she told me that Nurofen, apparently it slows the alcoholic absorption when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
So you might feel still a bit more drunk when you wake up in the morning, but that's the point at which you can hydrate. Whereas if your alcohol is being absorbed into your body while you're asleep, then you're going to get even more dehydrated during the night. But this is what she told me. It's probably total rubbish, but it does make some sense that therefore the alcohol's still being absorbed at 8 in the morning and you're waking up. So then you can rehydrate. So maybe.
Couple of other good techers as well, if you want to avoid the hangover slightly, is the on-off alcoholic, non-alcoholic. That works really well. So you'll often find if you're drinking beer in particular and you're in the pub, if you go, you might start alcoholic, then go non-alcoholic and chop and change between the two. You do end up still getting a really amazing buzz and you get half the hangover. If, let's say, across a pub session, you had 3 beers rather than 6, the difference to that is monumental in terms of how bad your hangover is.
Like we always do with Lucky Saint.
Yeah, well, Lucky Saint, I mean, it's now so easy. I never really drink in the week at all, unless it's a special occasion. So I would often, after a podcast recording with G-Dog, we go to our pub and have Lucky Saint on tap. It's always nice on tap, though, isn't it? There's something about having a full pint glass. But also another thing that works really well, and people will know this, if you have had a skinful of alcohol, trying to delay the time it might cut into your sleep, but actually the time of your last drink and then going to sleep makes a big, big difference. So if you go to bed battered, the hangover is always going to be worse. Where actually, if you leave a bit of a window, I think that makes a big difference. And then also food consumption before bed. Often people will go to places like McDonald's when they're hammered and have chicken nuggets, fries, Coke, milkshake, whatever. That's kind of the worst thing you can do. Try and have something that might be obviously carb orientated, but it's something that isn't just going to make you feel worse. It might taste good in the moment, but make you feel worse in the morning.
Yeah. And I read that it's important to stabilize the blood sugar and calm your gut. So a way to do that is toast, oats, rice, potatoes. And also it is important for all of those reasons to have protein. So eggs, yogurt, protein shakes, but avoid very fatty or spicy foods. So the whole McDonald's thing, as you just said, the fattiness of that is, it may feel like a short-term fix.
Do you know what's so funny is the spice thing. Me and G-Dog, I hate spicy food. We never really go to like Indian restaurants or anything like that because of that. You all right with spice? You're not too bad?
Well, I used to live in Asia, so I used to have a lot of spice then, but it just really badly affects my stomach.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And so I literally almost always avoid it now.
Yes. So the only time I really accidentally last had spice was January last year, before the High Rocks, where I asked the waiter, I was like, is it spicy? And he goes, yes. And I said, well, we won't have that. And he took that as, we'll have that. So the night before our High Rocks race, we were both like, that is so spicy. And it's fair to say it's a good job our race was the evening the next day. Otherwise, we might have been in trouble because we were so nervous. And I was like, I'm not this nervous.
Yeah, honestly, it was not a good way to begin High Rocks too. If it had been a 9 o'clock High Rocks, Angus would have had a problem.
Anyway, so... we've obviously, is there any other things you do to prevent the night before? So
I couldn't find, I was looking for medical science there, but I couldn't find medical science to say this would work. But I do actually find having milk before going out makes me get not less drunk, but it basically, it's this idea that it's lining my stomach. I think
that helps with spice, doesn't it?
Yeah, but maybe it's a bit of what we call an old wives' tale in terms of like the alcohol absorption. It's like you line your stomach before. I think it's important not to drink a lot of alcohol on an empty stomach. That's not good gut health.
Well, also you get better quicker.
Yeah.
And you just end up being sick, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I do that. But also I was looking at training. So it says in the research that I found that if you do strength training, I mean, I do actually do this every day anyway, so it's sort of natural. There wouldn't be a day where I was going out drinking without strength training anyway, so it's a normal part of my life. But if you don't normally strength train, then, or if you don't always do it on the day you're going out to drink, then you should do. So weight training specifically helps improve your insulin sensitivity. It supports your liver glycogen storage. It preserves your muscle protein synthesis over time and reduces your baseline level of inflammation. So all of those things, if you do them in the morning before you know you're going to have a big party that night, will actually help the issue with the alcohol absorption during your evening. So actually weight training in the morning of a day you're going to have a big party is a good thing to do.
That is fantastic. Should we move on to how to cure the hangover?
Yes.
Because we've obviously spoken about how to prep for the hangover,
Yes.
and I feel like we've covered that really well. So I'm going to throw my points out there, and then I'm going to let you throw your points out there, and then I'm going to say what I think is the best hangover cure, because there are a lot of options. So how to cure your hangover. So number one, move your body. I think getting moving, and fighting that urge to stay on the sofa is vital. And we do that from the get-go. I would always say sweating it out is going to help you, because obviously you get those endorphins and you just feel like when you sweat it, it just feels so much better. When you move your body, got a bit of a sweat on. Obviously, sauna is a way of doing that. But exercise, I often find, if you have the time, doing exercise and then going into the sauna. Obviously, the argument for sauna would be dehydrating yourself. So just make sure if you are already hungover, you have your electrolytes with you. And another one, of course, is cold water therapy, which G-Dog will disagree with. But it is something that I definitely think helps hangover. The big one, which is often overlooked, and it, I think, kind of dictates how you are going to feel the rest of the day more than anything, and this isn't the one that I believe is the best cure, but I think it has a big impact, is just eat like an adult. People naturally first thing will go for a fry-up, and then as soon as they have the fry-up, they might have a burger for lunch and then a pizza, when actually if you just ate like you normally ate, it would have a big impact. But the first meal, the first piece of food you have when you're hungover dictates the rest of the day, 100%. As soon as you go for those highly processed, really salty foods, you're going to want that for the rest of the day. And I guess another one would be sunlight. If you can, get outside and get in the daylight.
I've got to instantly disagree with on your first points.
Which one?
Sweating it out. So
Sorry.
all of the research, medical research, points out that alcohol metabolism is liver driven. You cannot listen. You cannot sweat out alcohol.
It's just a saying.
And therefore, no, listen to me. Let me finish. You'll have your moment. Therefore, a sauna, for example, or a HIIT training session cannot sweat out the alcohol. And in many cases, it will dehydrate you even more. So to your point, if you're doing a sauna, make sure you're hydrating in the sauna. All right. So, and equally, if you're doing a HIIT training session, if you go straight out of the house from an alcohol-driven night when you've got a hangover, and then you can sweat it out by doing high-intensity interval training, that's the worst possible thing you can do.
Completely
you
disagree.
need to hydrate yourself first.
Yeah, hydrate yourself, sure. But it literally, if you're obviously in the sauna, it boosts your circulation, you're sweating, and it gives your nervous system a reset. So surely that's a good thing.
Boosting your circulation is very, very true. Sauna is much better than cold plunge in terms of the alcohol cure or the
what? So
hangover
you're
cure.
trying to tell me that a sauna is better than a cold plunge?
Medically, a sauna is better than a cold plunge as long as you combine it with hydration in the sauna, because the sauna is resulting in inflammation reduction.
I couldn't disagree more.
Really?
Anyway, what would you say your one hangover cure, if you had to do one for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I mean, it is absolutely huge amounts of electrolyte-related liquid the following day, but combined with, it's horrible. I do actually, Nurofen. It's terrible. Drug, right?
Hang on.
But I literally, I
So
honestly,
you're telling me
my hangover cure, it always works for me if I have 2 tablets of Nurofen
yeah, but it doesn't
and electrolytes. That cures my hangover. And then, absolutely, I go to the gym. Absolutely important to get up early. So the worst thing I can possibly do with a hangover is lie in bed. It gets worse and worse and worse.
Again, though,
so I've got to get out of bed.
asked you a question saying, what is the one thing? So yours is Nurofen.
Nurofen and electrolytes combined.
Oh, that's ridiculous. So I'm going to, obviously, the obvious one, and everyone knows, I'm going to say cold water therapy. I cannot tell you the difference it makes in terms of how I feel if I'm hungover. Because what often, after you've drunk as well, you have that bloat feeling, don't you? Feel really bloated. And the great thing is cold water therapy obviously tightens everything. And so I've actually given myself a nice summary, which I've written out, G-Dog.
Oh, before
no, I'm not summarizing.
End in summaries.
No, I'm not summarizing. I'm just summarizing why I believe an ice bath is the best hangover cure. You ready?
Yeah.
Cold exposure helps a hangover not by removing alcohol, but by changing how your body and brain experience it. It triggers a big surge in your adrenaline, boosts alertness, focus, and mood, so the fog, obviously, it lifts fast. It reduces inflammation, it eases that heavy, achy, puffy feeling alcohol creates, it briefly shocks the nervous system, then brings a calming rebound, leaving you clearer and more balanced, and it also improves perceived energy and motivation even while alcohol byproducts are still in your system. Now, an ice bath does not flush alcohol out. That's not possible, as we've spoken about. Your liver does that. What it does is make you feel human again in minutes. Combined with water, movement, food, light, and daylight, it is the most effective tool for a fast recovery. That's my opinion.
See, I did some research into the comparison of sauna versus cold plunge, and it said sauna's better as long as you've got water in the sauna with you. And it says that the cold plunge is a stressor for your body, and if it's combined with dehydration as a result of alcohol, it can actually cause dizziness and problems. And it's much better to have short bursts of cold showers than to actually have submersion in a cold plunge.
Was the stress on the body done by bedwetters?
But I mean, the idea of a short cold shower. So
look, I get you. Look.
Listen, for me, if it was, I mean, this is not exactly a lift for life cure, right? Because it sounds a bit, but a Nurofen, some electrolyte-driven liquid thing, maybe the Beckham IM8 thing, combined with maybe it did say toast, so I would say toast or maybe Warburton's crumpets with some Marmite on because it's quite salty. So Warburton's crumpets with butter and Marmite, David Beckham IM8 and Nurofen, and then a quick cold shower with Angus hyping me up in the shower next door.
Right. I'm going to actually talk through what our minor G-Dogs effectively holiday live for life on tour routine would be.
Yeah.
So night before, we've obviously had our Nurofen, we've had our electrolytes before bed. Sleep, get up the next day, attack the day. We obviously get moving. We usually go on a nice walk, get a coffee, then back to base camp. And we will often actually have food then, won't we? Actually, first thing. Let the food digest. Then...
First, we walk to breakfast in your dodgy slippers. So we have early...
this big debate. But Gino, well, this was when you obviously had your centrist dad look. Which...
You take your bizarrely designed slippers from your hotel bedroom
drives Gino ballistic
to the hotel restaurant.
Yeah, but I just think it looks baller. So it's just like, who's that guy who's jacked, devilishly good looking in his slippers? And they're like, oh my God. And you're there. It's just a classic, like, centrist dad look. It's like socks pulled up tight and these like spongy running trainers. And everyone goes, he's old. His life's nearly over. That's anyway, going back to the formation of the Live for Life routine. So breakfast in the cool slippers, looking jacked. Then it's exercise. So either training, zone 2 cardio. Then it's sauna, take your electrolytes with you, finish with a cold plunge. You're good to go. That you must admit,
Yeah.
You do then feel $1 million, and then we go again.
It's true. Angus we go again. Get us the margaritas out. Oh, this is 80-20. I mean, we have to emphasize this is. We're only talking about the 20 in this episode.
Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
No.
I thought that was a fantastic episode. And I hope your hangovers are now cured. Enjoy. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next time.